Welcome to the Daily Surrender, a space for real, raw, and vulnerable conversations about what it truly means to live in alignment with God's design. I'm Jennifer Ragazzo, a soul-aligned wellness coach who is far from perfect and still figuring out this whole human experience, just like you. Here we talk about the messy, the beautiful, and everything in between as we learn to let go, trust more, and step into the peace and freedom that's already waiting for us. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Daily Surrender. I'm Jen Ragazzo, your host, and today's episode is going to dive into how to surrender when you're in the midst of a healing journey. How to let go of your timeline. Us human beings really love a good timeline, don't we? And how do you find peace in being really present wherever you are on your own journey? I have worked with, over the years, hundreds of clients, and most of my clients land here on my runway because they've got pain points. They have symptoms that have been popping up for them that are really uncomfortable. They might be really rooted in the physical. Perhaps they're struggling with autoimmunity. They're struggling with chronic headaches, gut issues, hormone imbalances, infertility. I've had quite a few clients who have been up against that, and I've walked through that myself. Perhaps it's a diagnosis that they received and they came here looking for a more holistic approach. And I can share with you that when we're in the physical, we want our pain gone. We would like all of it to be, using air quotes, fixed ASAP, but healing doesn't work that way. And other things that could be showing up for us on our journey maybe are emotional. Maybe they're emotionally rooted. Perhaps we've got a lot of nervous system dysregulation. We're bringing awareness to that, and we're working on rewiring and refiring the nervous system, reprogramming old limiting stories and letting go of them and reprogramming. And it takes time, but we want it done now, not on this unknown timeline. Maybe it's relational. I know that I've walked through quite a few seasons in my life where there's relationships that I was consciously working on, my marriage being one of them. And it was a struggle for me because there was so much uncertainty around when the relationship was going to be in a place that I wanted it to be in. When was my husband going to change his behaviors that would enable me to feel safer in the relationship, for example? Or maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe you're wrestling with forgiveness and you want to forgive, but it's not happening in your timeline. We want to be able to push a button and have it just poof happen. Perhaps you have or are walking through a journey where you're exploring your vocation. Maybe that has been instigated by a job loss. Maybe it's being instigated because you're feeling discontent where you are and you've really been doing some soul searching and taking a look at your purpose and where God is calling you to express your purpose in the world. Maybe you're someone who's building a business or you've built a business and it's time to pivot. I can relate to all of these things. We all walk through seasons where we're intentionally desiring change, we're desiring healing, we're desiring evolution and growth. And because we're human beings, we are very wired to want to control. And when I say wired, that's not the divine design that wires us that way. That's the world's way of wiring us, because the world really does program us to seek for instant gratification. You know, we live in the world of Google things. And actually now, even more than Google, we have AI. And so we've got information at our fingertips. We Amazon Prime things and we expect everything to come so instantly. That is not the reality of the healing path. Our soul itself doesn't have a timeline. We are the ones that place the timeline on things. And that in and of itself can create a lot of angst, pressure. It can create inflammation because we're so hyper fixated on getting things done stat. We want the timeline in our own timeline. You've probably heard me talk here on past episodes, sharing different stories throughout my life where I really gripped very hard on timelines. I remember when I was going through infertility myself and trying to get pregnant, I wanted it done stat. And then when we went from trying to conceive on our own and went to a reproductive endocrinologist, I thought that by going there and having them prescribe for me this infertility protocol that it would happen in my timeline, and it didn't. And that was something that I'm really very grateful that I walked through at such a young age, because it taught me back then to let go and to surrender. And I actually experienced what I'm going to talk to you about here today, which is the peace that can be found when we learn how to be really present, when we let go of that timeline. And when we do that, we're affirming that the details of our journey are unknown to us, but they're known to God. They're known to the one that sees all and guides all. So let's dive in a little bit into the paradox of healing itself. There is a paradox here. Healing often invites us to show up fully and let go completely. So we show up every day aiming to be the best me that we can be. And I'm going to use an example of a client who might come to me and I might be working with them. And in our work together, we're prioritizing really nourishing foods, anti-inflammatory foods. That might mean that they've made some changes, some dietary changes. We are prioritizing nervous system support, a lot of somatic movement, breath work, grounding, mind-body connection activities that are really helping them to slow down. So they've got the things that they know they're going to work on. So they have to show up for them. If they don't show up for them, they're not going to experience the change that they're desiring, right? But showing up doesn't mean that we're controlling the timeline. We're still surrendering that timeline over to God. And that can be really challenging. We want healing to happen now, but the path itself demands patience. The ego wants to know the how and the when, but spirit asks us to trust. Do you see the paradox here? Healing, we've often heard, is not linear. It unfolds in layers. There's twists and turns and different loops and spirals. And sometimes we hit something we never knew was there and we need to hang there for a while. Sometimes we slip back a little bit. I call it recycling. And it's all part of the sacred process. And yet, we still want and desire a straight shot up the mountain. And when we're in the midst of it, we can oftentimes fail to see that if we were to get that straight shot up the mountain, we would miss out on so many beautiful opportunities to learn, to grow, to evolve. We miss out on opportunities to really learn about ourselves, to take a look at the things that can't come with us to where we're going. Or perhaps there's things that need to be brought on that we're not embodying in the current season of our lives or the moment. So surrender itself is not about giving up on healing. It's about giving up the control and giving it back to God. It's that C word. You've heard me talk about it oftentimes on this podcast, and I'm sure it's going to be a repeated theme throughout our episodes and our conversations because, again, as human beings are so prone to want to control things. And we live in a world that, again, programs us into thinking falsely that we're in control and that there's all of these things that we can do to expedite the process, to fix ourselves, to make things happen stat. And that is not the way it happens. We're not failing when we haven't healed yet. We're growing through the exact soil our healing itself requires. Really think about that. That's something that has taken me personally time to really embrace. There was a period on my own journey. My journey's been decades where I was throwing a fit like a child, like a toddler over that whole idea. I was starting to see that I needed to be in, perhaps it was a sacred pause. Maybe it was a time where I was feeling really stuck and things were not happening in the way that I wanted them to happen. But there was more there. There were lessons for me to be learning where I was. And God was very patiently and persistently and consistently saying, hey, Jen, can you give that thing to me? That thing that you're still trying to control? Can you hand it over to me? And when you do that, you get out of my way and you also can hear what I'm trying to teach you, hear what I'm trying to show you in this. Because here's the deal. Everything that comes to us is for us. That's a tough one sometimes to swallow. It doesn't mean that God's up there in the sky, because that's not actually, true. That God's literally up there in the sky on a cloud, looking down, curating different things to teach us lessons. But it does mean that all things can be used for our good. All things. I have had so many clients that have come here with one specific physical pain point, diagnoses, ailment, a symptom that's not going away no matter what they've done. And they've come here for help with it. And in our work together, we unpack so much more. For instance, I have a client that I worked with for quite a while, and she had come here with persistent H. pylori infections. She had done everything allopathically, multiple rounds of antibiotics with her primary care physician, and she came really frustrated. It wasn't going away. It would continue to pop back up and overgrow. And in our work together, we would address it holistically and it would actually still pop back up. This has happened to me too, multiple times. So we're coaching and we're unpacking and we're dumping out all the puzzle pieces and we start diving into so much more, so much of the metaphysical for her, so much of the trapped emotions, the way that she was living her life. She was on all the time. She was people pleasing. She had very leaky boundaries. She didn't know how to stop. She would be what I would call a triple type A personality. And as we unpacked it and her healing unfolded, she really learned how to slow down. She thought that she was practicing a faith-led life, but she realized really quickly that she had the tightest grip on the steering wheel of her life. She was like white knuckling her life. She was trying to control everything and everyone around her. And things like this physical infection that was repeatedly popping its head back up was, in her mind, an annoyance and it needed to be gone. But meanwhile, it wasn't going away because it wasn't going to go away in the state that she was residing in. She was in a very hypervigilant fight or flight state. It was actually quite protective. It was the thing that essentially over time led her to such deeper healing. It led her to the place where she really did learn how to surrender. She has learned how to deeply rest, how to embrace this slow, mindful life of living very, very present. And it has greatly deepened her relationship with God. She has let go of so many of her mental constructs that she was living into that she didn't even know was there. And all of it started with an H. pylori infection. And she's just one of hundreds of people that I've seen that happen to. I today come to expect it. When someone comes to me and they put down one or two of their symptoms, their top three symptoms I always ask for that they want to really address, I usually will see some things that are physical. And then almost always I will see one of the things that they want is resolution of anxiety, which tells me that there's so much more to their journey. And if we were to, in a very short timeline, get rid of that physical thing that was their biggest pain point that drove them to do the deeper work, would they actually get to the deeper roots? Would they ever hear those deeper invitations? I don't think so. I don't, which is why surrendering this whole path up to the one who knows all, who can see the chessboard, see all the pieces on the chessboard, see the bigger picture in the here and now and in the future, why that's so beautiful. And it brings such peace. It really brings peace to the journey itself. So I want to also mention to you here that this isn't about invalidating our journey. I want to really honor the hard, honor the pain of being in the midst of whether it's a physical disease that's showing up, maybe it's a cancer journey. Maybe it's a diagnosis that isn't something that ever will fully go away. Perhaps it's like, it's the woman that's waiting for her lab markers to shift, or the couple that's in therapy wondering if they're ever going to feel close again, or the person who's grieving the death of a loved one and they want that grief to go away because it's so painful. Or maybe they're grieving the death of a dream, right? And they're waiting to see what God is going to direct them to next. Like, I want to really acknowledge and honor that a lot of these seasons that we walk through in life are really challenging. They're really challenging. Surrender itself is absolutely not about bypassing the hard. It's bringing God into the midst of all of it. It's really easy for us as humans to grip timeline, to chase the next supplement, the next biohacking tool, the next therapy that we can run and do, the next retreat, the healing retreat that we can go to, whatever the thing is. Like, that actually feels easier to us. And it also can be so incredibly exhausting. Like that concept, what's the thing? What is the thing? It's going to make this go away stat. And you may have heard me share this before on previous episodes, I am someone who was a chronic chaser of all the things. You name it, I have probably tried it. There were seasons in my life where I was willing to do absolutely anything to make myself better stat, whether it was physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even vocationally. There were times in my business where I wanted to grow, or I felt very stuck, or I didn't know how to do something. So I would chase things outside of myself. This next course is going to do it. This next automated tool that I'm going to hand my credit card over to subscribe to is going to fix this for me, stat. Whatever the thing was, what I really came to learn was me trying to fix or force anything on my timeline created an energetic block. It put me in a place of inflammation, truly. Like my thoughts felt inflammatory, my physical body felt inflammatory. My nervous system was not really super happy with me living that way. And it wasn't until I learned how to let go that I finally was able to feel peace on the journey. Like wherever I was, whether I was in the midst of working on my gut, whether I was in the midst of working in my marriage, whether I was in the midst of deepening my relationship with God or working on my business, me surrendering helped me to experience peace in all things. And in that, I'm experiencing more of life. When I was functioning with the energy of force, I was functioning in a way where I was not saying with my thoughts and my actions to the divine that I trusted the bigger picture, that I trusted God's timeline over mine. I was saying that I knew better, but yet really I didn't know better. I was just grabbing onto any shiny object that I could because it gave me a false sense of security. It gave me a false sense of productivity. But here's the deal. It's not passive for us to let go and surrender. It's actually the most productive thing that we can do. Truly, truly. We heal in presence, not in pressure. We will not heal in pressure. I don't know if you're listening to this and you're like, dang it, Jen, are you kidding me? I have, again, worked with hundreds and hundreds of clients who have to step into what I'm talking to you about today to allow the healing. We need to get out of our own way. We need to get out of God's way. And when we can let go and loosen our grip on the timeline, we start to experience peace. I have a client that I'm working with right now who has experienced a miscarriage. She is walking through a season where she's struggling to get pregnant again. There are some physiological things that need to shift. And her body is inviting her to strengthen her foundations before carrying life into this world. And that's really hard for her. She has put all kinds of pressure on herself, age working against her, time is running out. I want a baby on my schedule and I want a baby stat. And one of the things that we've really worked together on, actually earlier in our work together, has been letting go of the timeline, releasing the timeline so that she can release this pressure, because that pressure that she was putting on herself was keeping her in a state of fight or flight, which was affecting her autonomic nervous system, which was affecting many physical functions in her body that were not supporting fertility. Actually, when we're in fight or flight, our body will deprioritize some major things like hormone function, fertility. It's not going to prioritize fertility if it thinks we're running for our life. It's like, we're not going to carry a baby. We're under threat. It's also not going to prioritize digestion. And I can tell you from personal and professional experience, we cannot heal our gut and support healthy digestion, which supports also not only the digestion of our food, but the absorption of nutrients, the assimilation of the nutrients. When we're in a state of fight or flight, the switch on digestion gets flipped off. So if we don't work on these other things and we're living with pressure, right? I want this fixed stat so I can get on with my life. I don't want to address the other things that are driving me to not be patient, not be present. We're not going to heal. I have helped a lot of people work on their gut. And until they calm down and they bring some nervous system regulation in, they're not going to heal. But they have to release this whole pressure on the timeline in order to shift into that calm, rest, and digest parasympathetic state. Now is the only place that healing actually happens. Think about that. It's in the present moment. When we start overthinking and we're leaving the present moment and we're jumping into the future, we're pulling ourselves into what isn't actually reality. The real time is happening in this moment. So the actual healing that's unfolding, whether that be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, it's happening now, right now in this moment. So practicing, learning how to practice the power of the present moment is one of the very, very best ways to surrender into the healing journey and let go of our timelines. I'm going to invite you right now, wherever you are listening to this, whether you're driving or walking or cooking dinner, to take a breath with me. I'm going to invite you to just breathe in really slowly and then blow out really slowly and feel into this moment. Let yourself be here. Take another breath and really try and anchor yourself here right now. Ah, did you feel that? Even if it was for 1 second, were you able to feel the present moment? And if you weren't, that's okay. Perhaps after this podcast, you practice that. You use your breath to anchor yourself, to calm yourself, to clear out the monkey mind, and to be present to here and now. When we return to the moment, whether that's in grief, whether that's in physical pain, there's still something so good to be witnessed, truly. The nervous system, when we drop our timeline, is able to settle. When we carry around a timeline, it's almost like it's the simmering pressure that is dysregulating the nervous system. The nervous system has to stay on high alert because it's like, we have to heal when, by what? And there's no timeline, right? So when we can drop into the present moment, when we return to this moment right here, even if, again, there's physical pain, our nervous system settles, it calms down. Years ago, I had a very painful surgery, and the recovery to the surgery I knew would be long. I actually didn't recover in my own home. I went to my parents' house for 2 weeks after the surgery because I knew I needed to be out of my own environment. My children were a bit younger than they are right now. There's a lot of hustle and bustle in my house. I'm programmed in my home to got to get the laundry done, just seeing the things around me I knew would be a struggle. So I went to my parents' house so that wouldn't be a distraction and I could really create a healing bubble for me and have my parents there to help take care of me. The pain from that surgery was so excruciating. I called my doctor at 3 a.m. the night after the surgery, and I said, this can't be possible. Something is wrong. The medication you gave me to help with the pain is doing nothing. And he said, Jen, I told you it was a 10 out of 10 surgery. And I was like, huh? What? Well, I couldn't comprehend what a 10 out of 10 surgery was or 10 out of 10 pain was. And he said, it will go away, but it's going to take a few weeks. And I thought, oh my God, what? Like a few weeks? I don't know how to get through the next hour. I was writhing in pain. I couldn't get physically comfortable. So I remember thinking, okay, this is one of those moments where I have no choice but to let go and to surrender. And I did. I figured out that if I got into a bathtub, the water was very soothing to me. And I could use my breath and I would play a playlist of music and I would use my breath and my mind to rise above the pain and be physically present. I was just being physically present to whatever was. And I would rise up, 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 and I would use my breath to breathe down. And I got through those 2 weeks. And it wasn't like I was immediately all better after 2 weeks, but the first 2 weeks of agonizing pain, and I got through them really knowing, like I had never known before, the power of my mind and my ability to be really, really present. I had to stop thinking about when is this going to go away, or stop thinking about trying to stop the pain or force the healing, and instead be present to it and also detach from it. It was this, I could see the pain, but I wasn't engaging with the pain, and I wasn't writing stories around the pain. And that helped me to really also see good things. I would focus on how good the warmth of the bath felt. I would listen to the music and focus on the beauty of the music itself. I would pray as I was laying there breathing, just gratitude. I would just thank God over and over. I would just list all the things that were good and that I was grateful for. So healing itself accelerates when we release the actual contraction around it. So if you are listening to this and you're a woman who's ever birthed a child, you know that when we're in labor, there is actually like a strategy to laboring, to your breath, to your pushing, like even when it's time to push, there's a strategy there. We can't force the baby out of us. Like, of course, we want the baby out. Like the second the contractions start, it's very painful. I've had 3 babies. My first one, I actually was actively pushing for 4 hours. She was sunny side up, and I was doing a lot of things wrong. And that's what I'm bringing in here. I actually was, instead of releasing around the contraction, I was tightening my whole body up around the contraction, and that would pull the baby back up into me. So we eventually got the baby out. I learned after hours how to release the contraction. And my other 2 labors were very, very different, luckily, and a lot smoother because I had learned how to, again, release that contraction. So that's something that we can do mentally as well, mentally and emotionally, with anything that we're going through. The next thing that we can bring in to surrendering our healing journey is gratitude. And I shared with you a minute ago how when I was really being present to my healing after that painful surgery, it helped me so much to look for good, look for good, look for good, and offer up gratitude. Because when I shifted my focus to the things that were good, I would experience them in a greater capacity. I was amplifying them. Gratitude itself anchors us into the present moment. No matter what is happening, no matter where we are, if we stop and we're present and we offer up gratitude, we will be anchored in. It's almost an instantaneous shift. So maybe we're suffering from physical pain, but can we be really grateful that we have the provision to work through what we're going through? Can we be grateful that we have breath in our lungs to be able to shift our energy and release some of that stuck energy from our body? So here's a couple examples that might resonate with you or might give you some ideas for what you can do when you're struggling with letting go and practicing gratitude. So I'm not fully healed yet, but I'm really grateful that I woke up without pain today. Perhaps you and your husband are going through a season in your marriage, your partner, and you're working on the marriage and it's not where you want it to be yet. Maybe it's, well, my partner and I are not where we want to be yet, but I'm so grateful that we have laughter to bring levity to the process that we're in. I'm so grateful that we're committed to the process, that I have a partner that's here with me on this journey, wanting to work on things. Maybe you're looking for a job. Maybe you're out of work, or maybe you're in a transitional season where you don't know what you want to do. Perhaps it's I'm not working yet, but I'm really grateful that I have an awareness around my purpose, that I have breath in my lungs, and that today I have whatever it is in front of you, right? Whatever there is in front of you today. So gratitude doesn't mean that we have to like what is happening. It means that we recognize the holy inside of the experience itself. Truly. Gratitude rewires. It literally rewires our brain. There's neuroplasticity in our brain. And when we're practicing gratitude and we're offering up gratitude regularly, not just a thought. I mean, it's every thought counts, but like, oh, I'm so grateful it's sunny outside. But we're really getting into the energy of it. We're expanding on it. We're oftentimes digging deep. I have a lot of my clients write me gratitudes. They write me gratitudes, and I always ask them to write in complete sentences, write 3 full complete sentences out to me. This is not because I'm treating them like they're little children in elementary school. It's for the rewiring of their brain. It's to help the neuroplasticity of their brain and help them get out of the victim mode where they're so focused on the negative symptoms that they're feeling. They're so focused on feeling very stuck, and they're getting up and out of that, and they're getting into a state where they're amplifying the good, because there's always good. And when we focus on good and amplify good, well, God is good. So we're shining out more light. We're allowing God to expand out when we practice gratitude, and it rewires our brain. There's been a lot of research studies that will do brain scans, and they can see after just a short period of time, after a few weeks of intentional gratitude practice, where people are writing down the things that they're grateful for every single day, their brain changes. That's pretty darn cool. So surrender itself is not passive. Again, I want to emphasize that this whole podcast is called The Daily Surrender. And in one way or another, every one of our conversations is around surrendering. But us human beings have often looked at surrender as giving up. It's so not giving up. It really is actually an act of sacred trust. We surrender the when and the how, but we stay really faithful to the what and the why, right? Surrender means we're not carrying the weight of whatever it is we're going through alone. We're acknowledging we're never alone. There is no separation. There's no such thing as separation from God. God never moves. We might, in our consciousness, we might give power to other things. But when we surrender, we're acknowledging, oh, wait, I'm not doing this by myself. Doing that alone, you can feel the weight of trying to white knuckle it all on your own just lift off your shoulders. So I want to encourage you, if you're listening to this today, to keep showing up to whatever it is before you with patience and presence. But stop trying to micromanage it. Stop trying to micromanage God. Let that go. Just let it go. And when the thought comes back in, that is a controlling thought that perhaps is trying to dictate the timeline, just visualize a little stop sign. And then maybe like a dandelion, you're going to just blow it and let the seeds go. We don't know where the seeds go when we blow the dandelion, do we? No, but we know that they're going to go somewhere. They're going to go where they're going to go. I want to invite you, wherever you are in your own journey, to lay that timeline down, like lay it down metaphorically at the feet of God. Perhaps you say out loud, I don't have to know when healing arrives for me, but I have to stay available to it. So it's staying available. And by staying available, we're putting ourselves in the posture of receiving. We're putting ourselves in the posture of believing. This isn't about giving up on belief and giving up that healing is possible. It's about releasing the timeline around it and stop focusing on it. Stop focusing on that. I can't tell you how much giving yourself permission to stop focusing and stop trying to control, how freeing that is. It really is so very freeing. So before we wrap up here, I want to invite you to say a simple prayer. God, I surrender my healing journey to you. I trust you know the terrain better than I do. Help me to stay really present, stay grateful, and stay open. My friends, you can come back to presence at any moment. It might be something that you're practicing 100 times a day. That's okay. You can do it with a hand on your heart and a whisper of thank you as your sacred medicine. Come back to this episode if you need it, if you find yourself gripping too hard. And if you're struggling on your journey and you really feel that having someone guide you, walk alongside you, hold a lantern of light to illuminate your path would be beneficial to you, I invite you to book a soul body discovery call. We can hop on a call for 30 minutes. The link is in the show notes here. Or if you're ready to go a little bit deeper, maybe not fully dive in the deep end and book a coaching package with me, but maybe you want to dive deeper. I have a soul body breakthrough session. That's a 90-minute session, and we can cover whatever in the world you want. We can dive into lab work if you've got lab work. I can help you unpack the symptoms that are showing up for you. We can take a look at the metaphysical behind them. I can help you break through emotional blocks that might be present to you. And this summer through September 1st, I have a bonus free HTMA test included in that package. The link for that is in the show notes. The HTMA is the hair tissue mineral analysis test. I love that test because I can see so many things, not only physical patterns, but emotional patterns, trauma, metabolic patterns. There's so many things that I can see in that test alone. And I will use the results from your test in your breakthrough session to really make some very curated suggestions for you if that's something that you desire. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Daily Surrender. If this podcast episode has blessed you, please share it with a friend who might need to hear this message too. Please take a minute to rate and review. That really helps the algorithm to get these episodes out to more people. I appreciate you. And for now, keep surrendering, keep dropping the struggle and allowing God to really lead you into the abundant life that He has for you. Thank you for joining me on the Daily Surrender. If today's episode spoke to you, I'd love to hear your reflections. Send me a message, share this with a friend, or leave a review. Remember, true healing and freedom come when we let go, surrender, and trust that God's way is so much better than our way. Until next time, my friends, keep surrendering, keep rising, and keep walking in peace.